Shannon, should he have made the Pro Bowl list?
This is tough, Skip. I'm going to say no, only because he started the season in Carolina. Now, if we look at what he's done since he's been in San Francisco, absolutely. But even that, Skip, there's not one of these guys that made the Pro Bowl in the NFC I would take over C-Mac. And I'm not talking about because I played with his dad. I'm not talking about because
I know that. I hear
because
that.
I've known the kid his entire life.
You have.
Skip, none of these other backs can do what he does. Now, can all these backs catch it? Yes, but they're not putting them outside the numbers and throwing the ball down the field to them. They're not putting them in the slot and says, okay, we need you to be the corner. We need you to be the safety. That's not what they're doing with these guys. And he can run it as well as any of those guys. So for me, I think Saquon has the toughest assignment because he has the worst O-line and the worst quarterback. I think you look at Jalen Hurts and Sanders. I mean, I can make a case that Hurts is the better running back of the guy. He's the quarterback. And I get Pollard.
He makes things happen for Miles Sanders.
He does.
Because they do run some option. And
They do. And Pollard's situation is that he has the ram that softens everything up, which is Zeke, and then he explodes through the hole. So, Skip, I mean, when you look at it, you look at where they are. There's no coincidence that the 49ers are 7-0 with him as a starter after beginning the season 10-4. They have an outside chance, Skip, of getting them the number 2 seed.
Yep.
The 49ers are now in 3rd place. They were 3-4, left dead in the water. And I said, Skip, with this kid and what he can do, and Kyle Shanahan and what he can call, it's a match made in heaven. And you look at it, McCaffrey's 3rd in scrimmage yards. He has 10 touchdowns, 647 yards after the catch, 78 first downs, a second in the NFL. I think Carolina really hurt him because if you just look at his body of work, I tell you this, if you put any of those other guys, they can't do what he do in San Francisco. None of them can do what he do in San Francisco. Can they run the football? Yes, but he's so much more than a runner. All the guys, Skip, all the guys have, I mean, Saquon had an injury history. C-Mac has an injury history. Miles Sanders has been injured. And Tony Pollard hadn't really been injured, but he's a guy that only gets 15 touches a game. C-Mac is running the ball. He can give you 20, 25 carries, and he can give you another 10 catches. So I think the Carolina situation really hurt him. And so these other guys were in very favorable situations. They were winning, but I'm not taking any of those guys over C-Mac. Maybe you want Pollard, maybe you want Saquon. But if you said, okay, I'm going to give you one back in the NFC, I'll take C-Mac.
Okay. I honor everything you said about him because I'm not going to dishonor this young man to make the case I'm going to make because he is really, really good.
He's dynamic.
And he's tough and he's smart and he plays with a big heart. And he plays fearlessly, and I still fear for him because they're running him up the middle too much, and I still don't think he's a big enough man to take that kind of punishment because his history would tell you at some point there's going to be a breaking point for him. Okay. Honoring all that. We had him on at the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and I really liked him, man. He is. Because he's salt of the earth because he came from good stock.
Yes.
Right? You knew his father and
the mom, Lisa.
Mom. Yeah, okay. Given all that, this is a microcosm of the case I made in our opening block. Tony Pollard is being slept upon by the league in large part because he doesn't have a C-Mac nickname. He's not run CMC, right?
Yeah.
And he's not nearly as well-spoken or publicly have the public persona that Christian has because he's a good interview and he's sort of out there and you can go talk to him. He's accessible. I see him on TV. I've told you before, I think I told you 6 weeks ago, I don't know what Tony Pollard looks like without his helmet on.
Right.
If he walked in here right now and sat down right there, I'm not sure I would know for sure it was Tony Pollard.
I definitely would not know.
Okay, unless he were wearing a 20 jersey. So he doesn't have a nickname because Tony Pollard's a pretty boring name, actually. Yeah. And he doesn't have a flair to him where there's a narrative to the story. There's no narrative except he's just really good.
Right.
He has, to my eye, exploded on the NFL this year, and yet he runs effortlessly. His speed, he hits that 5th gear so effortlessly that sometimes I think, are you really going that fast? And then I look at the DBs, and they're not catching him.
Right.
He is leaving them behind. So the numbers say he is having an incredible impact of the year because he leads the NFL in yards per touch at 6.1. And you look at here's the problem. You look at what Christian's done or Saquon, they're not as big in yards per touch, but the problem is where you can nitpick Tony Pollard is what you said, because he hasn't even carried the ball the most on his team. Okay, no. Zeke has carried it 188 times to his 177. It's close. Right. But in overall touches, he's only 6 clear of Zeke. Right. Because he caught 33 more balls to 16 for Zeke. So that caught him up and put him a little bit ahead. But my issue that I banged the table on, so at least I'm not being a hypocrite about this, I first guessed it.
You want him to touch it more.
I just want him to touch it more because the math says the more he's going to touch it, the better he's going to be. You can make the case, well, he's a small man too. Yeah. Although he's no smaller, I don't think, than Christian is.
He's not. And that's why he hadn't had the injury history, because he doesn't get the touches that C-Mac had. Can you imagine him running him 25 times and throwing him 10 balls? Imagine that, giving him 35 touches when the most he's ever touched the ball is 15. Can you imagine what that's going to do to his body?
I don't know for sure. You could be right, but they will run him up the gut with abandon. They're not fearful of running him between the tackles because he runs hard between the tackles. He breaks tackles. I'm not saying he runs harder than Christian, because Christian runs like scary hard. He goes in like he's a fullback, and he will battle for yards when Tony Pollard can make you miss for yards. Right. I'm not comparing him to Emmitt Smith, but he has a little bit of Emmett in him, that shifty make you miss.
He's more like, before the line of scrimmage, he can make guys miss in the backfield. Now, see, Matt gonna make you miss in the open field.
He does. But I'm pretty sure Tony Pollard's a little faster than Christian McCaffrey is, not to take anything away because he can run. Yeah. But I think Tony Pollard's a little faster, and yet Tony Pollard will hit you more home runs. I think he hits more home runs than Saquon does, but Saquon has New York rep. He's got a great name. What a great name. Saquon Barkley. If I'm writing a novel, I want to come up with the name Saquon Barkley, right? Because it resonates. It has a ring to it. It's a cool name, both of them, Saquon Barkley. And every once in a while, as he did up there on Monday Night Football against Dallas, he'll hit a home run. Yes. But Tony Pollard hits one almost every game, and you can flip it to him or you can hand it to him, and he's going to make you pay a couple of times a game with big plays.
All those guys, Skip, are in better situations than Saquon. You look at the other offensive line, Dallas offensive line, the 49ers offensive line, and Philly damn sure offensive line.
Yet Saquon is a Pro Bowler because he led the league in rushing. Right. He did. I mean, given his offensive line, they lean hard on
the NFC.
The NFC. Yeah. But the point, what does he have? 1170, 1,170 yards. Yes. It's pretty good. Yeah. And yet, by the way, touchdown scoring, it's hard to, you can't.
C-Mac?
No, it's Tony Pollard. He's got 12. Yeah. And what's C-Mac? I've lost my stats.
I think he has 10, right?
He has 10, and Saquon has 9. Okay? So Tony Pollard scored the most touchdowns because it seems like every time I look up, and I'm not talking about 1-yard touchdowns. Right. He has breakaway touchdowns. Oh, yeah. He has 10, 12, 14-yard touchdowns.
Well, Miles Sanders had the best situation, Skip. He got 3 guys in the Pro Bowl. Yeah. And you can make a case that Mailata could have easily made the Pro Bowl. So he had the right tackle, guard, and the center. And he got Jalen Hurts, who's in the MVP conversation. Yep. So he has the situation around him to be successful. Plus, he has guys on the outside that can lift coverage, so it's hard to play 8 in the box. So now you got to play light box. So Miles Sanders is running into light boxes. Okay. Because he has A.J. Brown and he has Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert is coming back this week. Yep. So for me, Skip, like I said, could he have made it? Absolutely. Should he have made it? Yes, but I understand the reason for him not making it. But as I said again, I'm not taking any of these guys.
By the way, I thought C-Mac was pretty good at Carolina. I know, for what it's worth, he was Baker's favorite target. When Baker was pushed to the brink, he's looking for C-Mac.
Yeah, he was good, Skip. But I believe had he started in San Fran,
it'd be over. He'd just be one. And Maybe Miles Sanders wouldn't have made it.
Probably not.
He was second in the NFC in rushing. Okay, so I give him that. He had a really good year, and we had him on the show. Remember, he's a good kid.
Normally,
runs hard.
Normally, when the the team with the best record,
Yep.
they're going to normally have the most Pro Bowlers because they're like, well, you got to have a good team if you got the best record in the NFL. So as you mentioned, they could have had a few more. I don't know if Gardner Johnson made it because he was leading. I think because he got injured, because he was leading the league in picks.
Still is.
And so he probably should have made it.
Yep.
I don't think Brandon Graham made it. I think Hassan Reddick made it.
He did.
So
but Bradbury should have made it. Look at his stats. He's a shutdown corner, and he did not make it.
You can make a case for Mailata, but you do understand
and
that
Hargrave has 10 sacks and is the second best pass rush win rate of the defensive tackles, and he didn't make it.
Right.
So again, they're loaded.
They're loaded.
Yeah.
They're loaded. So I get it. I do get it, Skip. I understand it. It's hard. Sometimes it's really close. Sometimes you just scratch your head like, I'm not at this, like, I'm ready to jump and say, they got this absolutely wrong, Skip. I'm not ready to do that. Now, there have been times that since you and I have been on this show that we've done it like, I don't know how this guy didn't make it.
Yep,
didn't make it.
Yep. Well, the only reason Christian didn't make it is because he got traded.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only reason.
Yes. I'm glad they don't do it, Skip. They used to do it. Guy would play one position. He couldn't make it at that position, and they voted him in on his old position.
Yep.
I'm like, bro, come on. That's not what he played. He's not he didn't play safety. He played 10 games at corner.
Yep.
And because he couldn't make it as a corner, you voted him in as a safety.
Yep. Good point.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Subscribe here to get the very latest from Skip and Shannon. Plus, go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.